Mics on. Let's make sure we get our sounds right. Let's get our comment pinned, and we're going to get started in a moment. Good afternoon, everybody who is checking in. Hope everybody's having a good day, good week. If you're watching this on replay and it's the start of a new month like it is as I'm doing this live, hope you got your goals lined up for this month, this new month that has popped off, or this new quarter. It's a new quarter in real time when I'm recording this, but a lot of people watch these on replay. So make sure you got your goals lined up for the new month. You had checked your goals for the year against the first quarter of this year, going into Q2. As y'all are in here, shout yourselves out in the comment section. Let me know where you're checking in from. Tell me your name, where you're checking in from. We're going to get started in less than 1 minute. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out. Name and location. I'm live on Facebook. My Facebook page is Facebook.com/work on your game. Also got my Facebook group is 6 Figures and Growing. That one doesn't have a simple link. So you just go to the Facebook page. You'll see the link to the group, or you can just DM me. I'll send you a link to the group. Instagram. All right, as soon as I said Instagram, I got a poor connection. Pause. All right, Instagram is just at Dre Baldwin. That's an easy one. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out. Hope everybody's having a good day. Lionel, I appreciate you. Dabber Dean, what's going on? Checking in from DC. Shout out to DC, Baltimore, Maryland, Philly, Jersey, New York, Boston, the whole East Coast. Shout out to everybody in Miami as well, and everywhere else. Everybody else who is checking in. I don't know where y'all are from. I ain't seen nobody else say their location. But anyway, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. Former 9-year pro athlete, author of 33 books, done 4 TEDx talks, created this whole brand framework called Work on Your Games. All about, very simple. What we do here is we take the mental tools and the strategies to help athletes get to the top 1% in sports, and we create a system that translates those tools over from the sports world to the business world to help professionals like yourselves do 3 specific things. Number 1, perform at a higher level. Number 2, be more consistent in your performance. And number 3, make more money, of course. All right. And the way we do this is through getting the mindset as the foundation, strategy as a game plan, the systems, so that you can do these same things over and over again the same way every time, and the execution. So you're held accountable to make sure that you and your processes are doing their jobs on a consistent basis. So with all that said, here's what we're going to talk about here today. We're going to talk about how to do less to actually do more. How do you actually do this? How can you take down or slow down on some of the things that you're doing so that you can actually get more done? There is a process to doing this. Maybe you've heard somebody say something like this before, but I'm not sure you heard anybody explain it. Definitely haven't heard them explain it the way that I'm about to explain it, but I'm about to break this down and help you all understand this, how doing less can actually help you do more if you use this process in a smart and strategic way. I'm going to tell you how you can do that. Now, if you want to get specific and granular on how you can use it in your specific situation, then that you can come into Work on Your Game University. We'll talk about how exactly that happens. But let's lay out the framework for how exactly this works, because all of us have a limitation as human beings in that couple limitations. One, on a micro level, we have a limitation that you can only be in one physical place at a time. Another limitation is that you only have 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. There's only a certain amount of things you can do on your own through your own physical abilities, because there's only so much you can do as one individual. Third, on a macro level, is that there's only so much time that you have. All right? We don't have unlimited time. So if you do everything that you could possibly do, you're still going to run out of time at some point. At some point, you're going to run out of time. There is no more time for you to do what you're doing. Therefore, you can't do everything, quote unquote, that you come across. You have to pick and choose. You had to be economical about, all right, where am I going to actually invest my time and my energy in this opportunity that I have here called life? Because if you try to do everything, eventually you're going to run out of time. Or the other limitation is you're going to run out of talent, because no human being is good at everything. None of us can do every single thing. Some things some of us are really good at, and others are not so good, and other things vice versa. So you have to be smart about how you are using your resources. And we have 5 key resources in life. Time, the most important one. You have money, attention, energy, and focus. You have to be, just got to pause on Instagram, but you got to be very wise about how you're using these resources, because if you use them the wrong way, there's not a do-over. It's not like a video game where you can just hit the reset button and start over. In life, you use your resources the wrong way, you may not get an opportunity to reuse them in a way that actually works. So we got to be very smart about how we use our resources. So every day, here's the challenge to this that's happening in our lives is that every day we get exposed to more opportunity and more resources. Every day you see more, every day there are more apps popping up in the app store that you could download and install on your phone. The thing is, you could download as many apps as you want. You could have 1,000 apps on your phone right now. The thing is, you only look at one app at a time. See, that's the human limitation. It's unlimited how much material can be out there. But the human limitation is you can only be looking at one app at a time. You can't have two apps. You can't be looking at two apps at the same time. Maybe you can have them open, but you can't be looking at them both at the same time. You can't focus on two things at once. You can't pay attention to two things at once, even though there are a bunch of things vying for your attention and vying for your focus. There are more ideas thrown at you every day than you can actually respond to. You get more emails and text messages and who knows, WhatsApp messages and DMs and whatever from other people who are saying, do this, do this, do this, giving you calls to action. You can't do all of them. You got to pick and choose which ones you do. There are more books and information out there that you have time to actually consume all of it. So I remember somebody was texting me not too long ago, and they were saying, yeah, they were talking about, I forget what industry they were in, but this person was saying, well, yeah, I got a couple coaches and they give me a lot of information on how I can do things better in my business, but I'm always open to new information. And I said to this person, if the coaches that you have, if the only thing that they're giving you and the first thing you're thinking about with them is that they're giving you information, you hired the wrong coaches. You don't hire a coach to get information. You go to Google to get information. And you don't get another coach to get more information. You go to a coach so you can learn how to execute and actually get a result. Google can give you information for free. So you got a couple coaches and all you're getting from them is information, or you made a bad business decision. And I said this to this person. They didn't say anything back because clearly maybe they had made an error in judgment. But the whole point here today is we are always we are always bombarded with more information and more ways that we can do things and more things that can take up our resources. Therefore, knowing this and knowing that it's not going to slow down because people like us are always creating more stuff for other people to consume and use. Not to say that it's not good, but there's more stuff than there is time, right? So we got to make decisions about what we're going to engage with and what we are not going to engage with. So I'm going to tell you today how more is probably not what you need. Okay, that's my aim here today. I'm going to explain to you how doing more of whatever you have going on or whatever ideas you have in your head right now, more is probably not what you need. What you actually need is less of many things and more of a few things. So the key here's the crux of it, is you got to make the right choice about what to do more of and what to do less of. And if you get this wrong, you get this formula wrong, you will send yourself in the wrong direction. You will work really hard and go in the wrong direction. We call that hustling backwards. So you're hustling, you're working hard, you have positive intentions, but your outcomes do not reflect the positivity of your intentions. That's because you got the formula wrong. So I'm going to give you a framework for how to do this. But when it comes specifically to your situation, you need to talk to someone who can actually look at your situation and help you make the right decision. Maybe you can help yourself make the right decision, but at the same time, you can look at your own life up to this point, let's say the last 5 years, 3 years of your life, your career, your business, and ask yourself, have you been the best person to make the right decision for yourself? The answer has been no. Well, look, fire yourself from that job and find somebody who can help you make a better decision than you can make. All right, use other people. You don't have to do everything by yourself. That's actually the slowest and least efficient way to get anything done in life, is do everything on your own. So you need less in terms of quantity and more in terms of focus. That's what we're going to talk about here today. So let's get it. Point number one. We are talking about how to do less in order to do more. So Warren Buffett is credited with, I didn't hear him actually say this, but I've heard people credit him with this thing he called the 25-5 experiment. I don't know if any of you ever heard of this. And the way that it works is very simple. You get out a sheet of paper or a digital note on your phone, and you write down the 25 most important things you want to do in your life from this point moving forward. So you're 30 years of age from now until you die, you're 50 years from now until whatever. 25 most important things you want to do. Write them down and put them in. Just make sure it's the top 25. Top 25 things you want to do, achieve, execute, whatever, have in your life. Write them all down. Now that you got 25 on the list, now you want to go through that list of 25 and you want to prioritize the top 5. Just circle or put a star or a check next to the top 5 things out of the 25 that you wrote down. The top 5. Now, once you're clear on what the top 5 is, this is what Warren Buffett says. He says, focus the rest of your life only on the top 5 and ignore the other 20. That's it. Focus only on the top 5 and ignore the other 20. Now, but you got to do the whole exercise. You got to write down the whole 25 and then pick the 5. Because when you write down the 25, you might get a better, you're going to get a different focus. You're going to get a different way of looking at it than if you just try to write down your top 5. You got to write down all 25 because you're going to have to make some choices. You might be choosing between this one and this one. Which one? If I had to pick one and one got to go and one gets to stay, which one would I go with? And you got to make that decision. So pick that top 5 and only focus on that 5, right? Now, I know that many of us, especially because we have the internet and the internet allows for this, the internet actually encourages this and encourages us to have our hands on a whole bunch of stuff all at the same time. But if you had to choose one thing out amongst all the stuff that you're doing, what would you do? That's the question. If you had to choose one thing out of all the stuff that you're doing, what would you do? If we look at your business and we were to do this, if we said, okay, what's the most important thing in your business? Is the most important thing that you have fun? Is the most important thing that you have time? Is the most important thing how much money you make? Is the most important thing how many customers you have? Is the most important thing how many followers you got on social media? What's the most important thing for you? And not everyone has the same priorities. Some people's priorities is the money. Somebody's priorities might be time because you want to spend time with your family. Somebody else's priority might be, I want to get followers on the internet because they just want to serve their ego. And no, there's no right or wrong answer, but you need to know what the answer is. What is the most important thing for you? And then when you have that answer, what actually produces that outcome? Of all the stuff that you're doing, what is going to help you get to that outcome? We have the answer to that question. So there's 2 questions here. We have an answer to that question. Then you got to look at your actions and say, okay, what's actually leading to that and what's not? And the thing that's leading to that, that's what you need to spend time on. And the thing that's not leading to that, or the things that are not leading to that outcome, you should stop doing. You need to eliminate and delete, delegate, reduce, whatever it is that you need to do. Where are you getting the highest return on investment? And understand something, folks. The only way you can measure a return on investment is you need to know what the return is that you want. If you don't know what the return is that you want, then it doesn't matter what you measure. So you need 2 data points here. What is the outcome that I want and what is actually producing that outcome? If you don't have both data points, then it doesn't matter what answers you come up with because you only got half the equation. And this is where a lot of people mess up because they're asking themselves the wrong question. You have information, but you're asking the wrong question. So you got information that's answering the question that nobody asked, including yourself. So it doesn't really matter where you end up. So this is a question you got to ask yourself. Where do I do less to do more? Is you got to figure out what is the more that you want. More of what? This is the question, everybody. More of what? Do you want money? Do you want attention? Do you want fame? Do you want followers? You want time? You want happiness? What is it that you want? When you know that, what's producing that? Then when you figure that out, then how do I eliminate everything else and do more of the things that is actually producing the thing that I want? Now, here's a challenge that you might have in this process. As you look through this process, you may realize that, damn, now that I know what I want and I'm looking at the stuff that I'm doing, nothing that I'm doing is actually producing this outcome. This might be the case for some of you. Let's say your answer is, the biggest thing I want is I want to make more money. Or you want to make more money in your business. We'll use that because it's really simple and everyone understands the concept of money. Even though you might not be making what you want to make, you understand the concept of it. And then you look around at the things that you're doing and you realize, I just got another pause connection. All right. Then you realize when you look at it, damn, nothing that I'm doing is really helping me make the money that I want to make. If you just looked at anything you're doing to make money, and we're just using this as the example, and nothing that you're doing is helping you make the money that you're making. And if you did a whole bunch more of it, you would either run out of time or you'll run out of talent before you made the money that you want to make. Then here's your issue. Your issue is you don't have an efficient process, or an effective process is a better word. Not efficient, but effective. Because effective is based on outcomes. Efficient is just based on how fast and easily you could do something. But effective is based on the outcome. You don't have an effective process, which means everything that you're doing probably needs to be thrown in the garbage. And you need to get a whole different process. You need a qualitative change. Not quantitative, which means do more or less. Qualitative means a change in approach. You need a change in approach because your approach is not working. So if I talk to someone, for example, I'm trying to think of an example that I can use. And so somebody will say to me, all right, well, I want to make more money in my business. I want to make $100,000 in my business, but they're doing a service-based business. And every client that they service, they're charging them $50 a session. All right. So let's just do some math here. All right. So let's say somebody's doing hour-long sessions and they charge $50 per session. So if you charge $50 per session for an hour a day and you work 8 hours a day, that means you can make $400 a day. You work 5 days a week, that means you can make $2,000 per week. Everybody following me so far? There are 4 weeks in a month. You can make $8,000 in a month. There are how many months in a year? There are 12 months in a year. That means you can make $96,000 in a year. But your goal is you want to make $250,000 a year. All right, this is just bad math. Everybody follow what I just did there? If you're charging $50 a session on a service-based business, and this is just a random example that I'm making up. You're charging $50 a session on a service-based business, and you are working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, the most that you could possibly make. If you fill every single hour and you take not a minute off, you just go from session to session to session to session all day, the most you can make is $96,000. That's before taxes. So if your goal is to make $100,000, you're going to be $4,000 short. Your goal is $150,000, you're $54,000 short. Your goal is $250,000, you're more than halfway. You're less than halfway there. Everybody follow what I'm saying here? So you got to figure out what is actually going to get me to my outcome. So if this was your situation, and some of you listen to this is your situation. It may not fit you specifically exactly what I'm saying, but you get where I'm going with this. If this is your situation, here's what you need to change. All right, you need to change. First of all, maybe you need to get different clients. Maybe you need to get into a different business. Maybe you need to change your price points. Maybe you need to figure out how you can condense those sessions into less time so you have more time to make more money per session. But we need to change your entire business model. You don't need a quantitative change, meaning you don't need to work harder at what you're doing. No, you need to work differently at what you're doing. Everybody follow what I'm saying here? You need a completely different approach, because at $50 a session, you are already maxed out at 96 grand a year. And if your goal is $250,000, then you are already $154,000 short. You're not even halfway there. Everybody get what I'm saying? You're not even halfway to the number that you want to get to, but you have no more time to give. You don't have any more time. You don't have any more time. Let's say you doubled your rate to $100 a session. If you doubled your rate to $100 a session from $50 a session, and we doubled it, now you're going to make $192,000 a year. You're still $58,000 short of your goal. So again, hard work is not the answer to your problem. Everybody follow what I'm saying here? All right, this is just math. But the problem that a lot of people have is they don't want to look at this kind of stuff, because if you look at it, then you're going to realize all this work that I've been doing is actually leading me a little bit to a path of nowhere. And if I just keep doing the same things, which is what most human beings do all of their lives, I'm going to end up in the same spot, not getting the outcome that I want. And again, this is a perfect scenario. This is assuming that you work all 8 hours of the day with no breaks, no Instagram, no scrolling, no going to the bathroom, no lunch break, no taking a cigarette break, no wasted time, and you fill every single hour on your calendar perfectly, efficiently, with no time in between, you would still not even be halfway to the money that you want to make. And no human being operates that efficiently. None of us. There's studies that's been done that study how much time do people actually work over the course of a day, like an 8-hour workday. You know how much time people actually work over the course of an 8-hour workday? And they did this study like in corporate, like people who work in office buildings in corporate. You know that people's average time of doing actual work over the course of an 8-hour day is less than 2 hours a day. Less than 2 hours a day of actual work. Now you're getting paid for 8 hours, but you're really doing work less than 2 hours a day. As an entrepreneur, let's just say that you are amazing and you did double that. Let's say you're double the average person. You're twice as good as the average person. You're working 4 hours a day. Now, again, let's multiply that by your numbers. All right, you are not even 20% of the way to your financial goal. Just given by this example. Does everybody follow what I'm saying? The reason I'm bringing all of this up and breaking all this down to help you all understand that when I talk about doing less to do more, that does not mean work harder at the same shit that you've been doing. All right, most people, and I have conversations with people. Just got another pause connection. I have conversations with people every single day who are looking to, usually the overall goal is they want to make more money. Now, that might not be the main thing that they say, but the overall goal, I talk to entrepreneurs, people who run businesses. They want to make more money. Okay, and often when I get an understanding of what they're doing, and this may be eye opening to some of you. And it might be a splash of cold water in the face to others of you, maybe both, is that a lot of times entrepreneurs are saying that they want to make more money. And when I look at what they're doing, I'm like, yo, if you keep doing what you're doing, even if you become amazing and perfect at it, you will never make the kind of money that you want to make, because your business model is just flawed. It's not set up for you to even make the money that you say you want to make. You can't do it because it's only one of you. You don't have anybody else working with you. And given your prices and given what you're doing and the way you use your time, even if you filled every single minute on your calendar with work of what you're doing right now, you will not even come close to the kind of money that you want to make. It's impossible. It's mathematically impossible. You can't get there. This is what I mean when I talk about qualitative versus quantitative changes. Many human beings spend their entire lives just making quantitative changes. They do more of something that does not work, and then they're like, wait a minute, this is not working. Well, yeah, because you got a formula that doesn't work. The formula is off. It's not anything wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your business, nothing wrong with your idea. You just got a bad formula. So we got to change the formula. That's a qualitative change. That's a change in quality. And here's the crux of it, folks. I'm still on point number one. In order to make a qualitative change in life, most of the time, there are a few exceptions. Most human beings are not exceptions, even though everybody thinks they're an exception. Qualitative change usually requires outside help. And let me take a sip of water while you think about what I just said. Qualitative change usually requires outside help. What do I mean by this? That means if you want to change the quantity of what you're doing, you just want to work harder, be more focused, be more disciplined, anything with ER on the end or more, harder, better, faster, stronger, you can do that pretty much on your own with the help of a couple of motivational YouTube videos. All right, that's what you just need to do more of what you're already doing. You can pretty much do that through Google or anything you can find on the internet, Instagram posts, podcasts, YouTube videos, etc. You can make quantitative changes doing that. Sometimes I would say about 50% of the time. Even many people need help with that too. But qualitative change, you want to make a wholesale change in your approach because your current formula, it does not lend itself to you achieving your desired outcome. You need outside help, meaning you need to get help from someone who is not you, who can see things that you can't see, who will move you to do stuff that you would never think about doing, let alone would you do by yourself. That's where the real change happens. Here's the problem with all of this. In order to get that outside help, for that qualitative change, you need to get with someone who is going to push you out of your comfort zone, number one. You're going to have to pay them to push you out of your comfort zone, number two. Then you have to do what they ask you to do, number three. Most human beings do not have all three of these numbers of the combination lot, and this is why most people don't change. Most people don't change because in order to change, you got to have all three of these. Number one, you got to be willing to accept that somebody's going to push you out of your comfort zone. You have to willingly accept it. Number two, you got to pay for this. And number three, you got to do what that person pushes you to do. All three. If you fail on any one of these, then you can't get the change. Therefore, you'll default to going back to what you've been doing, which is more of the same stuff, which we already know doesn't work. This is why most people do not change or advance in life, because they rather stay in their comfort zone of doing the things that don't work than get out of their comfort zone and do something that might work, but at least it gives you the opportunity to be successful by your measure of success. Not my measure, your measure of success. Everybody got this. Point number two. We are talking today how to do less to do more. So there used to be an app back in the day that it was called Bourbon, Burbn, Bourbon. And it was kind of like Yelp. Are y'all familiar with Yelp? Yelp is like a app where you check in at certain places. Like you go to some restaurant, you check in. I'm at such and such restaurant, Mike's restaurant, and you take a picture of the food and the menu and you rate it and you give it 4 stars and say what you like, you say what you didn't like. And you could post pictures, you could do check-ins, and you can like get points and all this stuff and all these things that can happen when you're on Yelp. So Bourbon was similar to Yelp. So they were like a competitor. And the guys who started the Bourbon app realized that it wasn't really popping off the way they wanted it to. These guys are tech guys, so they wanted this app to pop off. They wanted to build a business around it, but it wasn't really going the way they wanted it to go. So as they were looking at it, and this is a positive story of how to make this work. So they were looking at the app and they realized that looking at it, they had all these functions like check-in function, video function. You can post pictures. You can have a little profile. There's all these different things you could do on the app. If any of you ever use Yelp, then it's similar. Or like Facebook check-ins or Google Maps check-ins and all this stuff. And as they looked at the app, they realized that there was one part of the app, because they were going to tear it down and shut it down. Because they're like, this is not doing what we wanted to do. We want the app to blow up. So we're going to shut this down and come up with a different idea. But before they did that, they took one last look at the app and they realized that the part where people could post the photos, that was the most popular part of the app. That was the thing that people were using the most. So they decided, here's what we're going to do. Why don't we just strip down everything on the app and let's just focus on this photos part, because at least that's something, right? All these pieces that we got in this app is not really working the way we want to. It's not popping right. But let's take this one part that people are responding to. Maybe we could build something around that. Just posting pictures. Maybe that'll do something. So what they did was strip the app down to just the part where you could post pictures, and they relaunched the app with just the pictures part. And they changed the name of the app. And they changed the name of the app from Bourbon to Instagram. And the rest became history. And I'll take a sip of water while y'all marinate on that point. That's how Instagram came to exist. Instagram did not start off as just some genius idea that somebody woke up in the middle of the night, like, let's just make an app where people post pictures with a filter and it'll blow up and be amazing and be worth $1 billion. That's what happened, but that's not how it started. How it started was a failed idea of someone trying to do a whole bunch of stuff. They realized that if y'all watching on Facebook, I keep getting these pause connections on Instagram. That's why I keep stopping. So they realized this whole bunch of stuff wasn't working. They reduced it down to, let's just focus on one thing, posting pictures with filters, and that's it. Nothing else, because that didn't even seem like an idea in 2011. Like, who would just want an app where you just post a picture with a filter? You could do that on any app. But they tried it, changed the name to Instagram, gram like a telegram, like a picture, and that is how Instagram came to be. They just reduced it down to a simple thing. Give you another example. There was this company there was a technology company back in the 80s and 90s, and they used to sell things like computers. So that was the thing back then. Computers, desktop computers, and then when laptops became the thing, they sold laptop computers, and they were doing their thing selling computers. And they had the guys who started the company who eventually had moved on. They sold the company. Other people came in, other CEOs, leaders, and stuff like that. And over the years, the company just kept expanding their product line. So they kept making different versions of computers. They're basically a computer company. They're a technology company. So they make different desktop computers. They had like 17 different desktops, 30 different laptop computers. They were trying to develop different technologies, stuff that we now know about. But they were working on different technology. They had all these different types of products that they were selling. The problem was the leadership of this company was not very well. The leadership was not good. They just had very poor leadership. And because of this poor leadership, and because they had so many different products, two things started happening. First of all, the consumers were getting very confused about what to buy. You ever go into a store and they got like 30 different versions of the exact same product that you want, and you can't decide which one to buy because they got too many. There's too many options, and people call that is like decision fatigue or paralysis by analysis, because you have so many different options. You can't decide where to begin because you got too many choices. So they had so many choices. The customers couldn't figure out what to buy, so people were buying nothing because confused customers do not ask questions. Confused customers do nothing. They leave and they go somewhere else where they're not confused. And the company was losing a lot of money. They were about to go out of business. The company was in very, very bad shape. So here's what they did. And on a last ditch effort, they were like very close to being insolvent and having to declare bankruptcy, and it would have been over for this company. They decided, hey, why don't we reach out to one of the guys that started the company? They asked him to come back to the company. The guy decided to come back to the company and kind of try to save the company. And here's what this guy did when he came back to the company. First thing he did when he came back was, first of all, a bunch of people got fired. They had to fire a bunch of people to save money. Secondly, he went through all the products that the company was selling. All the products. They had all these products that this company was selling. They had like 30 different versions of a desktop computer. He killed off a bunch of the products and said, this is all we're going to sell. We're going to sell one laptop. We're going to sell one desktop computer, and we're going to focus on developing some other things, but we're going to keep it really simple. So when a customer walks into our store, or they go to and this is like late 90s, early 2000s, so this website's just starting to become a normal thing. They go to our website, they're going to know exactly what they can buy. They're going to see exactly what the opportunities are. This, that's it. And we're going to cut everything down. We're going to make it simple. And the good news is, long story short, that this guy's idea worked. That firing all those people and getting rid of everything on the product line and focusing on just a few products saved this company. And the company blew up and got big, and they still exist to this very day. Some of you are familiar with them. The company is called Apple, and the CEO's name is Steve Jobs. I think most of you are familiar with definitely the company Apple. Some of you know who Steve Jobs is. He's been dead for over a decade. But there's a book the title of the book is literally Steve Jobs. It's written by Walter Isaacson. If you haven't read that book, I would suggest you go buy it and read it. Again, it's called Steve Jobs. He's the one who made the phone that you are watching this on right now, or the computer you're watching this on. You need to read that book. I got another pause connection on IG. First of all, you need to understand where the products that you are using, where they came from. You have a much deeper appreciation of how the genius behind it and why it worked and the stuff that didn't work. And secondly, it will give you some ideas of even if you're not trying to build a huge, super huge billion-dollar company like Apple, there are some principles that you can learn from what Steve Jobs did with Apple that can help you in what you're doing, even if you're just trying to make 150 grand a year and be happy. All right, that's fine. You don't want to make 150 billion, you want to make 150 grand. There's some things that Steve Jobs did that can help you, but you have to understand it. You got to read the book, and that book gives you a lot of into the mind of that guy and why they did the things that they did. And here's the thing with Apple. What they did was they reduced their product line down to, we're going to sell basically, I'm simplifying the whole situation, but you can read about it. We're going to simplify this down to one desktop computer. If you want a desktop computer, here's one that you can buy right here. If you want to buy a laptop, we got one right here. And then Steve Jobs said, we're going to work on developing some other products. Those other products that he developed, they became the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad. That's it. 5 products, now it's 4 because the iPod basically got morphed in. iPod got absorbed by the phone, right? So it became the desktop, the laptop, the iPhone, and the iPad. Apple makes most of their money from the phone to this very day. And all they did was take the iPod, which was revolutionary when it came out around, that's probably around what, 2004-ish that the iPod came out, 2003, 2004. And then when the phone came out, what did he do with the phone? Y'all remember the presentation. Y'all should look up these Steve Jobs presentations that he used to do. He said it's a phone, a browser, and an iPod and an MP3 player all morphed in one. He kept repeating that, and the crowd laughed and they went crazy because it was revolutionary when he came out with the idea. The whole point is Steve Jobs and Apple did less so they could do more. They reduced all those different products and all these different detailed things that were confusing the consumer and confusing the workers. And they said, we're only going to sell 4 different products. Well, actually 5. Actually, when it first started, it was only 2 things. Then the iPod came out. Then the phone came out. Then the iPad came out. Then they reduced the iPod. They got rid of the iPod and morphed it. And they put it in here. So the iPod is now in your phone because all your music is right here in the phone. And that's it. Apple sells 4 products. Apple's whole business. Apple is a billion-dollar company. They probably have more cash than any company in the United States of America. They have more cash on hand than any company in America. They sell 4 things: desktop, laptop, phone, tablet. Now, yes, I know they have AirPods and they got the watch, and those things don't produce most of their money. Most of their money comes from the phone. Most of their money comes from the phone. After that, it's probably their computer, then the tablet, and that's pretty much it. I was in the Apple store today. And last time y'all went in the Apple store, what do you see? So they got all those tables in the Apple store, right? Just think about this last time you went in the Apple store. Next time you go in there, you'll notice this. What's going on, Brandon, over there on Facebook? Javi on Instagram. What's going on? Good afternoon. Just Ruben on IG. Next time you go in the Apple store, you'll notice this. They got all those tables in there, right? But if you look at the tables, you'll notice that is only like 5 products on all those tables. No matter how big the store is, it's like 5 products. So when I walked in the Apple store today, the first thing I saw was the watch. So you got like 3 tables with watches on it. It's just different versions of the watch, just a watch. Then they got a bunch of tables with the phone. Then they have a table where they have the laptop computers. Then it's a table with the desktop computer. And that's pretty much it. They just got a bunch of tables with the same stuff on it. That's all Apple does. They just sell the same product. And there's a bunch of people crowding around every table looking at the same products. And then they got the accessory stuff, like the AirPods and the Beats by Dre headphones and all of that stuff. Like, they sell 4 products. They do less to do more. Instagram did less to do more. That's how they became who they became. All right, so this is how it works, folks. The biggest, most successful companies focus on a few things, maybe even one thing, and they just do a whole bunch of that one thing that works. Whereas everyone else is trying to do a whole bunch of things. Don't ever even think about which one of these is actually working versus what's not working, because they don't want to look at that, because it might throw some harsh truths in your face that you don't want to recognize, and then you end up in mediocrity at best. Okay, so this is the inside out mindset, folks. Do less of everything, then do more of the areas that are actually producing results, and expand from there. Expand on the thing that works, not on the things that don't work. Something that we recently did over here at Work on Your Game. We reduced the product line. So similar to what Steve Jobs did. I took a whole bunch of things that I was selling and offering and say, no, we're going to stop selling all of these things. Anything below this line, we're not selling anymore. We're going to not sell those anymore. We don't even want to attract those customers anymore. We're going to focus on Main thing we focus on right now as of this recording is Work on Your Game University. So that pinned comment that you see on Facebook and on Instagram, that's the main thing we focus on right now is Work on Your Game University. You want to work with me, you come into Work on Your Game University. Yes, we still have books. You see the books behind me. You can buy a book if you want to buy a book, but we're not focusing on the book. All right, we have courses, but we're not focused on the courses. The main thing we're focused on, I keep getting these pause connections on Instagram. Main thing you're going to hear me talking about is Work on Your Game University, because that's the thing we're focused on. Why? Because those are the best people who I like working with are in the university. The highest return on investment for our efforts, our marketing, all of that is Work on Your Game University. And the place where I can best help people get the results that they want is not from a book, even though I've written a bunch of books. I'm not saying my books are not good, but the best way I can help you get a result is if you join the university. So I'm looking for people to come into the university. That's what I'm focused on. Doesn't mean everybody's going to do it, but that's my focus is Work on Your Game University. Doing less to do more. And you scale after you understand what works. That's when you start scaling up. I had somebody DM me the other day and said, I'm trying to start a brand. How do I scale it up? Well, first of all, you got to figure out what works in your brand before you start thinking about scaling. Scaling is the next step. All right, so the first step is you got to figure out what works. What works meaning how can you give value to the audience in a way that they see the value in it, they love the value, they are getting what they want. Then you focus on how do I do more of that. All right, so this person was kind of a step ahead. So over here, as I just told you, Work on Your Game University. And whether you're watching this on Facebook, replay, YouTube, Instagram, you see the pin, you see the link. All right, Work on Your Game University. Number 3, what's going on, Avon? Number 3, we are talking today about how to do less in order to do more. Number 3, if you lift weights, anybody here lift weights, you understand this whole concept that less is more. When you are lifting weights, the best way to build size and strength is not by lifting a whole bunch of weights as much as you possibly can all day, every day. You don't go in the gym and just lift weights for 3 hours straight. That's not what you do if you want to build size and strength in the gym. What you do is you lift heavy weights, but you don't do a whole bunch of reps. You do fewer reps of heavier weights. All right, that's how you build size and strength in the gym. I'm not saying everybody needs to build size and strength, but if that's what you're looking to do, that's how you do it. You do less lifting. I remember I saw my trainer once. She had went out of town. This is when I was playing ball. She had went out of town, and I hadn't seen her for about a month. And when she saw me, we had met in like a Starbucks. She was like, you got bigger. And I was like, and she was like, what have you been doing in the gym? And I started answering the question. I said, yeah, well, I lift, but you know what? I've been lifting. And before I even finished the sentence, she interrupted me and said, you've been lifting less, right? You do less lifting, but heavier weight. And that's how you build up. It's the same thing in business, folks. Less of doing all the stuff, more of the stuff that actually works. So again, before you can do this, you have to do an analysis of what's going on in your business, what's going on in your life. What are the things that are producing the results that you want? When you're clear on what they are and you can measure those results, then you eliminate all the other stuff and you focus on putting more of your resources into the things that actually produce results. And when you do more of that, you will get more of the outcomes that you want. The challenge, again, for all human beings is that it's very hard for us to make this kind of qualitative change and do this kind of qualitative analysis because human beings are creatures of habit, and it's very hard for us to break the habit of doing the things that we've always done. This is why you utilize other people. You utilize the brains and the energies of other people because they will be able to push you out of your comfort zone in ways that you will never be able to push yourself out of your comfort zone. This is why we use other people. This is why we connect to other people. This is why it's called social media. All right. Social media is not a bad thing. It just depends on how you use it. You use social media to connect with, socialize with other people who know stuff that you don't know, who think in ways that you don't think, who have a way of approaching things, insights that you don't have. You get with them. They will move you to do stuff that you could never move yourself to do. And that's where the change happens. But if you try to do everything by yourself, you will fail because you will eventually, A, you will run out of time, or B, you will run out of talent. Nobody has unlimited time. Nobody has unlimited talent. So if you're doing everything by yourself right now in your business, I guarantee you are losing money. You're doing everything by yourself right now in business, you are losing money. How do I know this? How can I say that so confidently if I don't even know you? I can say it confidently because I know you're not good at everything. Most human beings are good at maybe 2 or 3 things. 2 or 3. If you are super talented, you might be good at 3 things. Most people are good at 2 things, and the average person is good at maybe 1 thing. And when I say good, here's what I mean. That means you are professional level, which means you can go into the open market and you can earn a full-time income doing that thing. Most people have one thing they can earn a full-time income doing. Some people have two, and the exceptions have three. Nobody has seven. Nobody can be professional level good in the open market at seven different things, or 12 or 17. But if you look at yourself and your business right now, you're doing 17 different things, which means you're good at maybe two of them, and the other 15 you're average or worse, which means you're losing money. Because if you had somebody who was professional level at those other 15 things, you'd be doing a lot better at those things. Everybody follow what I'm saying here? All right, this is why you use other people. Now, this is not saying that you need to go out and hire 15 people. Maybe you're not in a position to do that right now. But what I am saying is, when you figure out what the thing is that is your highest ROI, you want to focus more on that, and maybe you can eliminate some of those 15. You're doing 17 things right now in business. You probably don't need to be even doing all 17. Maybe you need to be doing like 8. So half of the stuff you're doing, you don't need to be doing. But if you don't look at it qualitatively and figure out what works and what doesn't, then you'll never even know that you need to eliminate stuff. And the problem with elimination, again, this is not an intelligence thing. This is not a logical thing. The problem with the elimination for most human beings is that we are emotionally connected to our habits. That's why they're habits. We're so used to doing them that it's hard to break them. Everybody ever heard the saying, habits are hard to break? All right, this is true. Habits are hard to break because we're used to doing the same stuff the same way over and over in life. Even if that stuff does not work, we still keep doing it because we're used to it. This is why they call it the comfort zone, because we are used to doing these things. Everybody following what I'm saying here. So less is more. So everyone's heard of the 80-20 rule, right? Pareto's principle states 80% of your results come from 20% of the inputs. What's the 20 for you? Do you know what it is? That's the key question. Do you even know what the 20 is for you? 80% of your results come from 20% of your 20% of your inputs. Do you even know what the 20 is? If you go to the gym and work out, 80% of the results you get from the gym are coming from 20% of the stuff that you do in the gym. Do you know what the 20% is? Do you know all the stuff that you're doing in the gym that is doing absolutely nothing for you, but you keep doing it anyway? In your business, do you know what the 20 is? In your relationships, do you know what the 20 is? Do you know? You need to know. You should know what the 20 is of the stuff that actually works, and 80 that is not really doing anything, but you keep doing it anyway. That's where your time's getting wasted. Your time, money, attention, energy, and focus are wasted in the 80. All the money, all the success, all the outcomes, all the progress is in the 20. If you don't know what the 80 is and you don't know what the 20 is, that means you're gonna be doing a whole bunch of hard work with no idea of what works and what doesn't. And before you know it, you're retiring, didn't get the outcome that you wanted, and wondering why it didn't happen. Because you didn't ask yourself the right questions. And you want help with any of this, Work on Your Game University. I just told you, 80-20 rule, our 20 is Work on Your Game University. Our 20 is Work on Your Game University. 80 was all the other stuff that was happening that has gotten eliminated. So now once we focus on the university, now we're going to do the 80-20 in the university. What's the 20% in there that actually works? And we're going to keep doing that, and you keep optimizing. This is what we call optimization. You just keep applying the 80-20 principle to everything that you do until you get down to the main thing that works the most and the best, and you just focus on that. For example, I just told you about Apple. Apple's 20, they just kept 80-20 in everything they were doing, and guess what they got it down to? This right here, the iPhone. Most of Apple's money comes from this phone right here. They eliminated everything that they did and just sold this. They'd still be making more money than damn near every company in America. Why? Because they know what works for them and what doesn't. Not because they're geniuses. They are pretty smart. But it's because they know what works and what doesn't. The question is, do you know what works and what doesn't for you? Most people can't even answer the question. Next time you see an ad for Apple, right? Apple spends $1 million a day marketing. Literally. It's probably more than that. I'm going to see if I can find out the exact amount. They spend a lot of money marketing, bringing this up. I want y'all to ask this question. I want y'all to answer this question. Next time you see an Apple ad, what are they advertising? Next time you see an Apple ad, what are they advertising? And if you look around, next time you see an Apple ad, I bet you 9 times out of 10, they're going to be advertising this. The phone. That's all they advertise is the phone. They just put up different ads for the same product. They don't advertise 30 different products. They advertise one product, and they just keep spending that same. They keep spending that same money on different stuff, on different versions of the same stuff. Now I'm looking up how much Apple spent on ads, Everybody has a different number. So Apple Insider, this blog says Apple spent 64.8 million on paid search ads. So that's not all that they spent. So they said Apple sold expenses. So Forbes has an article here. We're gonna see what Forbes has to say about Apple. Anybody got a question about anything that I said? Put it in the comment section right now. I'm gonna address questions. We're gonna see if I can get a hard number here. In 2020, Apple earned $275 billion. Billion with a B is in basketball. Billion in revenue in 2020. All right, wasn't that the year of COVID when everybody was supposed to not be making money? All right, they earned $275 billion that year, the year that everybody was supposedly not making money. So they said Apple plans to spend $500 million on marketing Apple TV, which still ain't making more money than the phone, even though they put $500 million into it. Apple's advertising business is now worth over $3.7 billion, and so many different numbers. Each one of these I look at is different numbers. So they said in 2020, Apple spent $65 million on paid search in 2020. So let's just work on that number. $65 million on paid search. Oops. Are we on Facebook? I think I had turned the mic off. All right, 65 million on paid search divided by 365 days. That's $178,000 a day. That's just on paid search. That's not counting billboards. That's not counting product placements. That's not counting anything else they spent money on. That's 178 grand a day on Google and Facebook ads, for example. That's how much Apple is spending every day. And I'm not telling you that to impress you. I don't work for Apple, but to impress upon you that the reason that they can afford to do that is because they know exactly what works and what doesn't. That's the point. So with that said, for some reason this article is not pulling up. So let me recap 3 points I just gave you. How to do less to do more. All right, number one, Warren Buffett, 25-5 exercise. Write down 25 things you want to do for the rest of your life, and then write down 25 things you want to do for the rest of your life, and then circle the 5 that are the top 5, and then just focus on those 5. And forget about the other 20. Just focus on those 5. That's doing less to do more. Number 2, there used to be an app called Bourbon. It was like a check-in app like Yelp. It wasn't really popping the way that they wanted it to. The guys who created it, they were about to destroy the app and kill the app. And then they said, well, there's one part of this app that gets a lot of response. That's where people post the pictures with the filters. How about we just focus on that and let's relaunch the app with just the pictures? They did that. They renamed it Instagram, and the rest became history. And that's a true story. That's how it happened. There was a tech company that used to sell computers, and it was doing okay. Then the CEO kind of got forced out. He went and did other things. The company was not doing too well because they had poor leadership. They were losing a lot of money. They were about to go out of business. They brought the old CEO back. He came back and he said, all these products that we're selling, we're going to kill all of these off. We're going to focus on 2 products. We're going to focus on a desktop computer and a laptop computer. We're not selling 30 different products. We're not selling 10 different versions of each one anymore. We're going to sell one desktop, one laptop. That's all we're doing. And we're going to focus on developing new products. He did that. That company was called Apple. The CEO's name was Steve Jobs. Then they went and developed 2 more products. They developed the iPod. Then they developed the iPhone, and the iPhone basically absorbed the iPod. Then they developed the iPad. And to this very day, that company sells 4 products: desktop computer, laptop computer, iPhone or smartphone, and a tablet. That's it. That's all Apple sells. Next time you go in an Apple store, look at all the tables. They got 4 products. They got a watch. Now the watch is in there. The watch makes them some money, but nowhere close to what they make from the phone. They got a watch, a phone, a tablet, and usually they don't even get that much space to the desktop because everybody buys laptops these days. These are the 4 things. It's not saying nobody buys a desktop, but that's where they make their money. Most of their money is made from the phone. Watch, phone, tablet, laptop, desktop. This is all Apple sells. They sell 5 products. That's it. And they have more cash than any company in America. They sell 5 products. This is what Steve Jobs did. If you have not read the book called Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson, go buy it and read it. So that is applying the 80-20 principle. You need to know what the 80-20 principle, what it is for you and what you do in your business. You need to know what your outcome is, what produces that outcome, eliminate the stuff that is not producing the outcome, and focus on the things that actually do. The challenge for anybody to do this on your own is that you are emotionally connected to your habits, meaning it's much easier for you to keep doing the same stuff that you've been doing than it is for you to change and do something different. This is why you use other people, because other people will, number one, notice what you need to be doing. Number 2, they will force you to do things that you could never force yourself to do. And number 3, you're going to pay them to do it, which means you're going to be much more committed. The reason most people do not change in life because they're unwilling to deal with all 3 of these. And that's why they don't change. You got to deal with all three. Number one, let somebody else tell you, look, these things that you're doing don't work. Number two, they're going to move you to do something that does work. And number three, you're going to pay them to have you do this stuff. You're going to pay somebody to have you get uncomfortable. Most people don't want to deal with all three of those. It's like a combination lock. You miss one of the numbers, you can't open the lock. This is why most people don't change. That's why most people would rather keep doing things that don't work, that they're comfortable with, to do something that does work, that is uncomfortable. That's, if I could, you can I don't even need to write a book on that. I just gave it to you right there, 30 seconds. And number three, third point. If you lift weights, you already know less is more. All right, any kind of working out, usually less is more. Working out more does not necessarily make you better. All right, less is more. You need to know what your less is so that you can do more of the thing that is less so you can get to your outcome. This is also known as the 80-20 principle. Pareto's principle, 80% of our results come from 20% of our inputs, which means 80% of what you are doing is not doing anything, yet you keep doing it. All right, this is where your time gets wasted. Any of you who is an entrepreneur, any of you who is a professional, any of you who has ever had the challenge of, I don't have enough time to do what I want to do in my life, is because of the 80-20 principle. 80% of what you are doing is not even doing anything for you, but you keep doing it. All right, this is why you don't have any time. 80% of the products you're selling ain't making you any money, but you keep trying to sell them. All right, this is why you're not making the money you want to make. 20% of what you do is producing most of your results. If you identify what that 20 is and just focus on the 20, like Steve Jobs, like Warren Buffett, you would get better results. But you got to eliminate the 80. The challenge with eliminating the 80 is that it's going to push you out of your comfort zone. It's going to cause you to stop doing some things that you are very, very comfortable with doing. And this is very uncomfortable for most human beings. This is just simple human nature. This is why most people do not change. This is why most people are, by definition, average. Because they don't want to change. Not because you can't change. Not because you don't recognize there is a need for change. It's just because it is very hard for you to change. And again, I got another pause connection. So Work on Your Game University, I told all of you that when we 80-20 was going on here at Work on Your Game, the 20 is Work on Your Game University. All right, the 20 over here is Work on Your Game University. So any of you want to know, because sometimes when I talk about these things, people say, well, Dre, how do you apply this stuff to what you do? I'm giving you the answer right here. Here's the 20. The 20% of what we had going on that produces 80% of the results is Work on Your Game University. That's 80-20 when it comes to ROI. That's the revenue we can generate. 80-20 when it comes to results and outcomes, and 80-20 when it comes to amount of energy and time we have to spend in marketing and sales funnels and all of that stuff is Work on Your Game University. If I just focus on that, is a higher return on investment than doing courses and these small little things and books and all of that stuff. Is just focusing on Work on Your Game University. So with all that being said, if you want to work with me, if you want to get help from me, if I can help you, if anything that I've said in this live can help you move forward, guess where you need to go? Can anybody guess? Work on Your Game University. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. That is the link down. Is the pinned comment on. I'm on Facebook and on Instagram. That's the pinned comment. It is the link in my bio on. I'm sure it's somewhere here on Facebook. No, it's pinned on Facebook, so y'all see the comments. On IG is the link in my bio. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. If you want to get my text messages or you want to text with me, you can text me at that number I just put in the comments there. Let me put it on Facebook. My text message number is 305-384-6894. Every morning I send out a free text message. It is called the Daily Motivation. It is guaranteed to help you get focused, sharp, and on point, at least to start your day. You can get that, again, by texting me at my number, which is, again, 305-384-6894 for the Daily Motivation. If anybody got a question, I'll wait like 10 seconds for a question to come through. But maybe it was just so perfect that nobody has a question. Work on Your Game University. That's the 80-20 for us. And then you just keep 80-20 in everything that you do. So once you get to that 80-20 and you figure out the 20, now you focus on that. Now, once you get into that and you keep focusing on it, now you 80-20 that and you get better at that. And you 80-20 that and you just keep doing it until you focus on the thing that is producing the highest return on investment. And then you just put all of your resources into that. That's it. That's how it works. Just put all your resources into the thing that actually produces results for you. But you got to know what a result is. What does results, quote unquote, mean for you? If you can't answer that question, then you don't know what the 80-20. What is a result? What's producing results? If nothing is producing results, that's okay. As long as you recognize it, that nothing's producing results. Now we got to figure out, all right, how do we come up with a different approach to what you're doing? How do we tear down what you got and do something different? So for example, here in Miami, there's this building when I was on my walk today. This is a building that I remember I looked at this building when I first moved to this neighborhood. Didn't move in. I didn't really like the building. But that building, right now, they're kind of gutting it out. I think they kicked everybody out the building and they're gutting out the building. But they didn't tear down the edifice of the building. So they kept the frame. Because sometimes there's a lot of construction in Miami. So sometimes when they have the old building, they'll tear the whole thing down. There'll just be a pile of rubble. They'll get rid of the pile and then they'll build a new building on that land, right? But then sometimes what they do is they just gut out the building and then they just rebuild on the frame that's already there. So that's what they're doing in one of these buildings. They didn't tear the whole thing down. They just gutted it out and now they're rebuilding on the frame that already exists. So sometimes we can rebuild on the frame that you already have. Sometimes you got a good frame. We just got to change what you're doing with the frame. And sometimes we got to tear the whole shit down because this whole thing is not working. But either way, we got to make change. And let me remind you all of one thing. Your time is not unlimited. Let me remind all of you, your time is not unlimited, meaning you are on the clock. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? Let me see if I can find a clock so I can just show y'all what's going on. Never Settled NYC, appreciate you. Oh, you read the Super U? Shout out to everybody who read the Super U. Let me see if I can find an analog clock so I can just show y'all the clock ticking. Here it is, the personal world clock, time and date. All right, so here it is. Let me see if they can give me a bigger version of the Miami clock. All right, so this is Eastern Standard Time right now. All right, y'all see that? Y'all see that clock ticking? All right, you see that red? See that red hand just keeps moving? Every single second, there is more time going off the clock. All right, this is your life right now. All right, this is not a metaphor. This is your life right now. Every second, tick tock. Every second, there is more time going off the clock. KA sells no questions, affirmation for your positive energy. Stay focused. The name of the game is never too late. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. KA Alfred, thank you for the comment. Every day, more time is ticking off this clock, folks. So you don't have unlimited time to figure this out. Okay, this is just a reminder. You do not have unlimited time to get to this. If you're serious about getting to it, then you better get to it. And if you want to get to it through me, work on your game university. All right. Maybe you get to it through somebody else. Hey, maybe I'm not the best person for you, but whatever it is, do what you got to do. All right, everybody. I'm hungry. I need to get something to eat. Y'all have a good afternoon. Hit me at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Text me, hit me in the DM. Y'all know how to find me. I'm the easiest guy to find on the internet. Work on your game. We out here.